to take the lead on that. So it's up to their schedule and their funding, but again, we will be looking at this area.
Well, then
We
my
can start-
question
we can
goes to
start
Mr.
that.
Sebastian, when can that assessment be done? I noticed that in the budget, there was $1,800,000 or something for 17, but prior there too, there was a budget too, and some of that budget has been and is being used for various parts of the trail, because the trail is 8 miles long from Silver Spring down to Union Station. So what we're concerned about is what's happening up there at New Hampshire Avenue, between New Hampshire Avenue and Riggs Road. And that's, so when can we expect an assessment?
Right, I would like to start that either later this year or early next fiscal year.
Later this year, that's gonna put us a year and a
Fiscal year,
half.
sorry.
Yes, well, what can be done to expedite the assessment in the area so that, we can have the trail that is least intrusive, least disruptive for this community?
Yeah, well, even once we get that started, we get that started this year on 2017, fiscal year 2017. It will take a couple of years just to do the study. Yeah, that's how environmental assessment works. It's not because, it's just, I mean, Nick can tell you more about how an EA works. This one that we finished in 2010 took over 3 years to do, because there's a lot of people you have to involve, a lot of resources you have to look at, it costs money, you have to,
Now, I know that, the federal government has appropriated a lot of money to the to the states and the district for these kinds of improvements. So all of this money is not gonna be out of DC's money. So when you couple that with the federal money, it appears that there should be enough funds in existence to expedite this. And I do know that people can do what they wanna do when they wanna do it, irregardless of what may have been planned, or, what may have been desired. So I'm speaking on behalf of this community that has taxpayers, has voters, has homeowners, and all, and we would like the same type of thing that is given other sections of the city. Now, I know for the Beach Drive rehabilitation, they're doing tunnels, tolls, roads. Money has been appropriated for that. So we need that same kind of money, that same kind of action, right over here in this area.
Before I get to your question, can I just follow up on that?
Yes.
So an environmental assessment is a process. It's a process that we are required to use under the National Environmental Policy Act to look at impacts on land whenever an action is proposed. In this case, the action is a possible potential trail running from Riggs Road past New Hampshire Avenue. So we have to look at the impacts on our trees, on our wildlife, which we do have wildlife in this section. We have to look at how people use it. We have to look on the impacts and what it would cost to maintain it. All of this has to be done in this document called the environmental assessment. So it's not, we've gotten much better than when we first did this EA. Our EAs move through generally in a year and a half now. But it is a process that needs to be followed, and have to ask your patience, because we are obliged by law to do this, and we want to make sure that we get it right. And so it takes some time to do this analysis. There's a lot of science that's involved in here. And so we want to make sure that we get it right. So yes, it does take a while for planning. Yes, it sometimes seems like we don't make progress, but once this is earmarked, once Jim gets this going, we will have a timeline, and it generally will be probably about a year, a little more than a year, to get this document through. So be patient with us as we do what we need to do, but if DDOT is willing to fund this, we will move forward. I'm sorry, the gentleman in the back had a question first?
Yeah, 6 minutes ago. 6 minutes ago.
Okay, 6 minutes.
In the back.
Thanks.
for giving me the chance to talk. First, thank you for organizing the meeting. I think it would be helpful to have additional meetings. There's a lot of concern about what we're talking about. I was here at the prior meeting, and thank you for addressing some of the issues that we spoke about then. I live on First Street. I'm a relative newcomer. I've only been living here 11 years, so forgive me. I am definitely in favor of the bike lane as a project. In our immediate area where we're living, in that section in blue, I am a proponent of the dotted area. So this environmental assessment, I think, is very important. In addition to that, executing the assessment, moving forward and getting it done on a timely basis is very important. So environmental assessment, but I think that we need to go much farther. So I'd like to see greater commitment from the government. With regard to the interim road, if the entire trail is basically going to be created from Silver Spring all the way down to Union Station, with this little gap in our community, as a default, people are going to be using First Street. So my concern is making it as safe as possible for them, and if that means adding a bike lane there, then I think we should do it. But with the mindset of hopefully getting a more serious commitment from the government of having the trail go through the back as is in the dotted line there.
Sorry, I apologize, I don't know who was next, but
If I hear you correctly, you're saying that the Park Service is amenable to environmental study. But if I understand from Jim, they're not interested in doing a survey because another study because it will take so long to complete. Is that
No. We are interested in doing it. We also think that there are definitely merits to the alignments that have been proposed by the community. We think there are other changes that could make the trail even better. For example, there was a push for many, many years, decades, for as part of this, because this has been around for decades, to have a bridge over Riggs Road because it's going to be a very, I hate to use the word dangerous, but it's going to be a difficult crossing. Wherever we put the crossing of Riggs Road, it's a 4-lane road with like 30,000 cars on. I mean, that's not the ideal situation for this trail. We go, under New York Avenue, we go over Florida Avenue. So it'd be better to have that, and maybe even a tunnel or bridge in New Hampshire Avenue. So we see advantages, not just because you want to move it off First Street. We see advantages for the trail and the trail users and the park of having another alignment. So we are interested in it. I just don't want to lose sight of creating this interim alignment, which we do have in other parts of the trail. We have some on-street parts in Tacoma Park, in Brookland. We don't have a perfect trail. It will be years before we have a perfect off-street trail because it's getting land from either the Park Service, the railroad, just parking. There's different constraints all up and down the 7-mile corridor. It's really hard to put a trail in an urban area that's all built out. It's much easier in the suburbs or in rural areas where there's not so much development. So we can't get it, exactly what we want. But right now people are riding this. Right now they're over on 3rd, using Gallatin and Hamilton, which is okay, but not ideal. When we finish this section around Fort Totten, you're going to be able to take it up from the Metro up that Gallatin Trail up to Gallatin Street, and that'll be a little better. So you won't have to go over. You've probably seen bikes on Fort Totten Drive by the cement plant. And that's not an ideal situation. Anyway, we do want to do a new EA.
and
In terms of time, it's very difficult. I would say 2 to 5 years.
but just to say, rest assured that the Park Service, the superintendent of the park, Tara Morrison, has committed to the director of DDOT that we will cooperate and are interested in this study.
Will that change with the new overall administration? I'm sorry.
I apologize. There was another. Thank you. I'll get back to you.
My problem is that when we had the last meeting, we were going to initiate the study. So was that, I don't even remember when it was, months ago. So if you haven't initiated it now or since that meeting, how can we expect it to happen in the future?
We've had a lot of work to do on this Fort Totten Metro Station area, as well as we kind of divided it into two: south of Riggs Road and north of Riggs Road. We spent a lot of time on design. When I came to you last, I did not have staff. I did not have a project manager to work on it, and I also was trying to work on the design, the preliminary design for this existing section. Now we have more capacity, and frankly, we have more buy-in from the Park Service. You can see that here tonight. But now, we're moving forward. No guarantees, but yes, we're moving
Well,
forward.
I guess my point that I keep making is that to a household of the people from First Street who came to your last meeting, we all said, do not put the bike trail on First Street, but you don't seem to have developed any alternatives, any roundabouts to avoid First Street. And I really think you should avoid McDonald
Yeah.
because of all those cars that take that shortcut to make a left turn onto New Hampshire Avenue to go to Silver Spring. It's just ridiculous, and you talk about safety, but it's inherently unsafe to do that.
I just wanna talk a
Okay.
little bit about, are we out of time?
We want to, move to the next section. We've been over our